Alright, so again, see if you can see the mouse, okay. So basically, the way it's done is okay, there are different type of situations. Okay, corresponding whatever symptoms you're gonna have, cognitive symptoms, behavioral symptoms, yeah, physiological symptoms. According to severity, you're gonna write from 0 to 3. Obviously, 3 being more severe, and 0 being nothing at all. So this questionnaire is lengthy because think about it. These are 10 situations, right? And 10, how a situation where you're supposed to answer, I don't know, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, like 19, 20, so many questions, right? So it is going to be lengthy. The bad thing is क्योंकि बहुत ज़्यादा lengthy है compared to GAD7, people might get tired, बीच में थक जाएंगे, and then जान छुड़ाने के लिए they're going to write responses which are not even genuine. So you might have a bit of demand characteristics issue in this, that people might exaggerate their symptoms, right? Or they might exaggerate the symptoms, or they might maximize their symptoms, or they might not even answer at all. Halima, was clear? Like, can you hear me? Is my voice clear? Halima, आवाज आ रही है? Halima, like, can you hear my voice? आवाज आ रही है? All right. ठीक है. So basically, compared to GAD7, we'll think about this. And let's think about your phobia as well. Let's think about the thing that you're scared of, right? I don't know what that is. मुझे बताना भी नहीं, ठीक है ना? But as an example, whenever you have phobias, के कोई ना कोई cognitive या thought processes involved होती है, right? And the thought processes are that, for example, I don't think I will be able to bear that situation. You might think this way when you encounter that something that you are scared of. You think that you are going to faint, right? Or you think about the past experiences जहाँ पे ये तुम्हारे साथ हुआ होगा. You think about things. So that's cognitive. When you encounter something that you fear, right? उसके साथ साथ तुम्हारे body के अंदर भी changes आते हैं. Sweatiness, breathlessness, fainting, palpitations, increased heartbeat, right? Sweating, feeling dizzy, stomach problems, nausea, वगैरह. These are all physiological and behavioral responses be aati. For example, things that you will do, you run away from that situation, right? Your hands start, you run away from that situation. You scream, right? You can't talk clearly, right? You, for example, you stop seeing things, nazar nahi aa raha tha, right? You avoid going to that situation. uh, you try to move slowly in that situation, right? Things like this. So every single phobia, including blood and injection phobia, does have cognitive, physiological, and behavioral aspects to it. Now think about this, right? For example, let's suppose you're a patient of blood phobia or injection phobia, doesn't matter. हो सकता है कि तुम शायद इतना सोचते नहीं हो ब्लड इंजेक्शन के बारे में जितना तुम्हारे साथ फिजियोलॉजिकली होता है. क्योंकि let's suppose कि फिजियोलॉजिकल सिम्टम्स के अंदर तुम्हारे स्कोर ज़्यादा आ रहे हैं, बिहेवियर के अंदर कम आ रहे हैं, एंड कॉग्निटिव के अंदर कम आ रहे हैं. सो व्हाट दिस मींस इज व्हेन द साइकोलॉजिस्ट इज गोइंग टू डू थेरेपी ऑन यू, उनको बहुत अच्छा अंदाजा मिल जाएगा कि तुम्हारे किस सिम्टम्स के ऊपर काम करना है. फिजियोलॉजिकल एज एन डीप ब्रीथिंग करवा सकते हैं, राइट? डीप ब्रीथिंग. या बिहेवियरल, फॉर एग्जाम्पल दे माइट change your behaviors or thoughts. They might cognitive, or they might change your cognitive responses. So this actually helps the psychologist to narrow down कौन से symptoms मुझे target करना है. So BIP is actually really helpful in narrowing down कि psychologist को कौन सी therapy लगानी है. Cognitive therapy, behavioral therapy या physiological oriented therapies. So BIPI has its use. G87 not so much. इसके अंदर आप कुछ नहीं उखाड़ सकते, right? इतना इतना डिटेल है नहीं कि आप कह
Sir,
रहा हूँ थेरेपी प्लान कर पाओ. So,
sir,
yes,
sir, can we say that this questionnaire is like more holistic because it takes into account all the three aspects?
बिल्कुल. It is more holistic. It is very holistic. G87 not so much, right? क्या करें इसके बारे में? So So what you're supposed to remember about GAD7, taking how many questions, right? Uh, what disorder does it measure? Is it open-ended, closed-ended? If it's closed-ended, so the options and her option के साथ जो numerical score as in not at all के साथ 0 होगा, several days के साथ 1 होगा, 2 for this and 3 for this, right? At least 2 example questions, right? The total score and the ranges, ये वाला ranges के 5 का क्या मतलब है, 10 का क्या मतलब, 15 का क्या मतलब है, and also that it is a screening tool. You're supposed to remember about, you're supposed to remember these aspects. BIP के अंदर क्या मेजर कर याद रखना होगा? uh, 3 subscales: cognitive subscale, physiological subscale, behavioral subscale. uh, how many situations there are, क्योंकि we're not gonna basically जो इसके question numbers है ना, हम जो consider करते हैं इनको consider नहीं करते, ये हम situations को question numbers consider करते हैं. So I guess जहाँ पे मुझे इतना मेरा या अंदाज़ा है, it has around like 50 questions or something like that. I'm going to confirm it later, but it has multiple questions, right? And obviously if you think about this, कम से कम 20 questions भी होते हैं, and हर 20 के 20 question के सामने तुम्हें यहाँ पे zero भी लगाना होता, is gonna get hectic. So it is very, very lengthy. That's the bad point. The people can get fatigued and they might not answer valid information. Both of these questionnaires are susceptible to demand characteristics, right? Okay, you can exaggerate your score or you can minimize your score. Okay, obviously you know what is this is going to test you. You know what it is about. So let's suppose you want to get into the army, right? Army के अंदर you're gonna make sure कि तुम्हारा score कम आए. Let's suppose you are on trial. Obviously you're gonna plea for insanity, so you're gonna make sure you're a crazy person. So you're gonna maximize your score जानबूझ के. Demand characteristics दोनों तरीके में आ सकते हैं. One good thing is that BIP is more in depth, is more detailed, so it can help a therapist design their therapy around your symptoms. GAD7 cannot. All right. I guess that is it. मैं तुम्हें number of questions confirm कर दूंगा, तुम्हें group के अंदर लिख दूंगा, like इतने questions होते हैं. Both of these questions are close ended and BIPI के अंदर इतना ज़्यादा range का मसला नहीं होता. GAD के अंदर range याद करनी तुम लोगों ने. BIPI के अंदर जितना ज़्यादा score होगा उतने ज़्यादा मसले तुम्हारे साथ, right? Greater the score, greater the severity of the symptoms. That's it. और कोई याद करने को नहीं है यहाँ पे. That's it. So are these two scales clear? दोनों question, the BIPI and the GAD7.
Yes, sir.
Question I have. All right, yes. Cambridge ने अभी तक BIPI up to 2020 March तक नहीं पूछा, right? I don't remember about the recent papers in 2020 March तक नहीं पूछा होगा. If it is the case that they have not asked it within the September 2020 paper, sorry, the May June 2020 paper or the October November session, it is likely that they might ask this time around. इन्होंने एक दफ़ा पूछा था इन 29 मार्च के अंदर, बट नॉट एज सेपरेट. उन्होंने एक बड़ा सा पैराग्राफ के अंदर पूछा था, अलग से कभी नहीं पूछा उन्होंने. What do I mean is that levels 2020, yeah, they asked it in question 2 of paper 3 पूरा, जिसके अंदर तुम्हें सब चीज़ की समरी देनी होती है. They have never asked it अलग से. What do I mean is कि इन्होंने इस तरह नहीं पूछा, like when describe what is BIPI, they have asked it इस तरीके से जहाँ पे तुम्हें हर चीज़ की समरी देनी होती है. So this question rarely comes, लेकिन क्या पता आ सकता है, ठीक है ना? They have started doing this in March of 2020, where you have to write the diagnostic criteria, the subtypes, and the measures for anxiety disorders, measures as in tests. So GAD7 and यहाँ पे एक और होगा BIPI, yeah, there you go. Or yeah, okay. So there are 18 questions, 18 questions, right? So there are 18 scenarios, 18 situations given in the BIPI, right? And your 27 phobic responses are basically what subscales are: physiological, cognitive, and behavioral. All combined give you 27 phobic responses, right? So if you multiply 18 by 27, you're gonna get the total number of answers कि तुम्हें कितने actually चीजें answer करनी होती हैं. It's very, very long. Obviously, as I said, के BIPI के अंदर भी score 0 से लेकर 3 तक range करता है. Zero is never, three is always, right? Greater the score, greater the severity of the disorder. Bharat. So that's it, not that much detail. They might ask you the strength and weaknesses of BIPI. They might ask you the strength and weaknesses of the GAD7. Uh, Again, so I would suggest that you make these two BIPI or GAD7 के strength and weaknesses your homework. Two strength for GAD7, two weaknesses for GAD7, two strength for BIPI, two weaknesses for BIPI as your homework. So basically four strength, four weaknesses in total cumulatively. Summary मैं नहीं पूछूंगा क्योंकि it's already written, it's basically understood. So strength and weaknesses का question please solve कर लेना. Moving on. So we have done the questionnaire, ठीक है ना? First part is done. So basically, the first section for any disorder, please, I like reminding you guys, this basically, जहाँ पे characteristics as in the diagnostic criteria, the types as in subtypes, and the tests, all these three makes cumulatively combines makes the first section of the topic for depression, anxiety, whatever. Her topic of पहला section ये तीनों चीज cover कर रहा होगा. The second section is gonna be about the causes. So now we're gonna move on to the second section of why does phobia happen. So there are different reasons of why phobias happen. Um, so first cause, the reason why phobias happen is a behavioral approach oriented reason, behavioral aspect, yeah, behavioral school of thought. And the experiment is done by Dr. Watson, right? The experiment is famously known as the Little Albert experiment. Uh, Quiz, have you guys heard about the experiment before, or have you guys heard about classical conditioning before? Classical conditioning, Pavlov.
Yes.
All right. Do you guys remember the principle of classical conditioning? क्या होता है? The processes involved.
So basically, जहाँ तक I remember, there is an unconditioned stimulus. उसमें I don't remember it properly, but there's something जो आप fear arousal कोई आपके सामने कोई चीज रख देते हैं and then वो stimulus condition हो जाती है and then a phobia or a fear is like something kind of that. I don't remember it properly, but
All
I'm
right.
not sure.
All right. So please remember कि क्या कर रहा था मैं? Yeah. Yeah. See, so there basically तुम्हारा A2 के अंदर ना दो चीजें आ रही हैं. Like if you look at other chapters in abnormal psychology, other chapter specifically causes of why depression happens, yeah, why OCD happens. दो जगह behavioral reasons आ रहे होंगे. Schizophrenia में नहीं आ रहा होता, depression में नहीं आ रहा होगा. Impulse control disorder जो fifth chapter वहाँ आ रहा होगा. There is a behavioral reason why impulse control disorders happen, but हमें अब इसके बारे में डिस्कस नहीं कर रहे होंगे. OCD के अंदर आया था the reason why OCD happens, behavioral reason, and यहाँ पे भी है why does phobia happen, इसका कोई ना कोई behavioral reason है. So basically there are two behavioral reasons हमेशा आएंगे abnormal psychology के अंदर. Operant conditioning वाले reasons आएंगे या classical conditioning वाले reasons आएंगे, right? Basically what I want you to remember is जहाँ पे punishment या reinforcement की बात हो रही है, right? That's ultimately operant conditioning. So basically, operant conditioning, if I want to summarize it in one word, is learning based on consequences. Negative consequences, you'll stop doing it. Positive consequences, you'll do it more. Classic conditioning is not based on consequences. It is based on basically pairing. Yeah, combining. Yeah, associating. जो भी कह associate. ठीक है. All right, so classical conditioning के अंदर, right, there is a misconcept that you cause fear. Yes, you can cause fear, but not always. Basically, if you take classical conditioning, right, so there are many components involved. UCS, right? UCS, unconditional stimulus, right? UCS, right? All right. So UCS, if you ever want to know what's the UCS, right? The unconditional stimulus in a long, it's anything. It is anything that will give you a UCR. Yeah, unconditional Unconditional response. So anything that gives you a UCR is a UCS. So basically, we want to figure out what is the UCR then. Basically, अगर तो UCR समझ में आ जाएगा, UCS automatically समझ में आ जाएगा. Unconditional response, आसान लफ्ज़ों में बताऊं, please don't use this explanation in Cambridge. मैं बस conceptually समझाना चाह रहा हूँ. Basically, it is a response that is natural and you haven't learned it. So anything that you do or say, or basically anything that you do that you didn't have to learn and it was so natural is a UCR. And anything that makes you do a UCR is an UCS. So let's go into example. What do I mean? See, let's suppose, okay, if you if you at any age in your life, right, 5 saal ke ho gaye, like 20 years old or 50, 40, doesn't matter, 100% sure, 100% guaranteed, whenever you hear a loud bang, you will get scared. At least for a second, you're gonna get scared, right? And this response that you get scared when the loud noise is produced, to सीखना नहीं पड़ा, right? It is so natural that you don't have to learn it. कोई आके तुम्हें सिखाया नहीं कि loud noise से डरना है. It was already there. So, what gave you this? What produced this? The loud noise produced it, right? So, anything that produces a UCR, a natural response, is ultimately going to be a UCS. Now, if that's understood, फिर आगे बढ़ते हैं. All right. Now, there are certain things in your life that has no meaning to you. Things that are neutral stimulus, right? For example, it can be someone that you don't know, a person that you don't know who studies with you, but studies with you, but you don't sit together. He's neither positive for you, neither negative for you. He means nothing, right? Neutral, neither positive or neither negative. So, positive or negative. For example, you see an ad on TV that means nothing to you, neither positive, neither negative. So things that aren't good or bad to you are just neutral. Now, hota kya hai? We can change this. We can change the way you respond to this neutral stimulus. We can change the way you can either behave positively or negatively. We can do anything with that. And this is what classical conditioning is about. We can change the way how you respond to a neutral stimulus, and this is what Dr. Watson did in his experiment. So the way how do we do this? Basically, remember pairing, associating, and combining. This is our key word. Classical conditioning समझना होगा, बस ये अल्फाज समझ लो. All right, so you're right in saying that basically what we're going to do is we're going to combine something neutral with something bad to make neutral the negative aspect. Or we can combine something neutral with positive to give it a positive sense. So it depends. If you want to give someone a negative association, you pair with negative thing. If you want to cause someone to be happy, you pair with a positive thing. Fear arousal करने के लिए obviously you're going to pair with something negative, right? All right, so now we come on to Dr. Watson's experiment specifically, and we're going to talk about Dr. Watson's experiment in his terminology. So there's this baby called little Albert, right? I forget baby, like I think 9 months old or something. So basically, Albert is, if you see this bunny rabbit in front of him, ठीक है ना, उसके सामने not only bunny rabbit, mouse, dogs, pillow, rat, anything that is white and fluffy, right? Albert gives a neutral response. हो सकता है कि एल्बर्ट ने अपनी जिंदगी में कभी देखा ना हो, and you can relate. अगर तुमने वो चीज़ देखी नहीं देखी तुम्हारी जिंदगी में, तो पैदा तुम्हारे सामने आ रही, you don't know how to react. That's neutral, and that is fine. That is what Albert was going through, neutral responses. So होता क्या है, what happens, डॉक्टर वॉटसन ने फिर एक दफा अलग से लाउड नॉइज मारा, ठीक है ना, एल्बर्ट फिर क्या करता है, रोता है, एल्बर्ट क्राइज. नाउ ऑब्वियसली द बेबी विल क्राई, क्योंकि आपने लाउड नॉइज के सर के पीछे एकदम मारा. So the Albert cries, and Albert का जो crying था, that is a neutral response, sorry, a natural response. Albert को सीखना नहीं पड़ा कि मुझे loud noise से रोना पड़ेगा, वो कुदरती response है. So the crying is a unconditional response. So obviously the thing that made Albert cry was a loud noise, yeah, bang. So anything that gives you a UCR is the UCS. So in this case, the UCS was the loud noise, bang. Makes sense. If you bang, Albert cries. If you bang, Albert cries. If you bang, Albert cries. All right. So what thing doesn't, What thing Albert doesn't react to? The white rat. Albert doesn't react to the white rat. We want to change it. So what we do, ठीक है ना? And this is the conditioning phase. Conditioning phase के अंदर association हो रहा होगा, right? This is where the magic happens. The associating, the pairing, whatever. Kind of stuff. What we do is basically in any scenario, right? Whether it's negative or positive, it's still going to remain the same. We associate a UCS with a neutral stimulus. So loud noise, combine that with white rat. Now let's suppose if you do it the first time, पहली दफा, you loud noise bang karte ho, right? Loud noise. Then you put a rat in front of Albert, क्या होगा? Albert would cry, but not because of the rat. Loud noise की वजह से रोता है वो, right? बाहर आवाज निकाली तुमने, unconditional stimulus, उसकी वजह से Albert रोएगा. But तुम क्या करो? Loud noise के साथ चूहा उसके सामने लाओ, okay? Now ask yourself, did the first time happens, Albert चूहे की वजह से रोया या loud noise की वजह से रोया? Obviously, the first time it happens, Albert cried of the loud noise. So it is still, crying is still an unconditional response because Albert cried of the loud noise. So again, it's going to be UCS plus NS plus is equal to UCR the first time. Now let's suppose you do it multiple times, 5 times, 10 times, 15 times. I guarantee एक time आएगा that you bring the rat in front of Albert, right? Before you even make the loud noise, before you even bang it, in the presence of the rat, Albert would start crying before you even make the loud noise. Now you ask yourself, did Albert cry due to the loud noise? No, Albert cried due to the rat. Now ask yourself this, was Albert crying due to the rat natural? Yeah, was it learned? Obviously, this crying now is the first crying behavior that is a learned response. So because this crying is no longer natural, it's not natural, right? It's learned. So this crying is no longer going to be called a UCR. This crying will have some other name. This crying will have a name called CR, as in conditional response. Yeah, in easy word, a learned response. So yeah, so a rat made you cry. So yeah, so anything that gives you a CR is gonna be a CS, conditional stimulus. Anything gives you a CR is the CS. So in this case, what gave you the CR? यहाँ पे, the rat gave you the CR. So ultimately, बाद में क्या होता? The rat becomes the conditional response, right? It's no longer neutral. It is going to make you cry. Crying was a learned behavior. Crying was a CR. Why did you cry? Why was the CR happening? Because of you. CS. What's the CS now? The rat. From NS, the rat becomes a CS. So ultimately, first step. Second step. न्यूट्रल स्टिमुलस पहले आता है. पहले चूहा दिखाओगे, लाउड नॉइज बैंग करोगे, बच्चा रोएगा, राइट? अल्टीमेटली क्या होगा? So yeah, let's get this sequence right. So is this entire process clear?
Yes, sir.
100%, like UCS, CS, CHOB, every single component there is.
जी sir, समझ में आ गया.
All right. So you can do it opposite as well. You can do for positive responses as well, but यहाँ पे positive response नहीं है. Little Albert was given a negative response. So basically, you instill fear into little Albert. ठीक है ना? So Albert cried because of the white rat. लेकिन he didn't cry of the white rat only. He cried of everything that is white and fluffy. So if you put a white rat in front of him, he will cry now. If you put a dog in front of him that's white, he will cry now. If you put a white mask on, Santa Claus mask on with white beard, he will cry. White bunny rabbit, he will cry. So basically, he got scared of everything that is white and fluffy. So yeah, so that goes to show that Albert's fear was not just limited to white rat; it was spread out to everything that is white and fluffy. So it was generalized onto white and fluffy objects. All right. So basically, if you want a summary of what just happened, TK, little Albert, ठीक है ना, was conditioned to be scared of white rat. ठीक है ना, please understand the process. Vocabulary इस्तेमाल करना. Mention the word UCS. Mention the word CS, UCR, CR. You have to mention these words. If you don't mention any of these words, right? इसका मतलब है कि तुमने classical conditioning वाले अल्फाज इस्तेमाल नहीं किए. These terminologies must be mentioned. That's why अगर तुम्हें समझ process समझ में नहीं आया, right? You can ask me again. Is the process 100% understood?
Yes, sir.
Halima, understood? All right. ठीक है. So evaluation perspective से, let's see, little Albert is a case study. So you can talk about generalizability में issue आता है. Uh, so little Albert is a case study. This explanation might not be generalizable to the other population. And also little Albert was a baby, so might not be generalizable to other age groups as well. So there's a problem with generalizability. Anyways, so regarding the evaluation for this explanation, is it reductionist? 100% is reductionist because it's focusing on a behavioral aspect, classic conditioning.
सर इसमें हम ये कह सकते हैं कि सारा बेस्ड ऑन assumption वर्क है, हमारे पास कोई कंफर्मिंग एविडेंस नहीं है, सिंस लिटिल एल्बर्ट खुद तो बोल नहीं सकता था.
Confirming evidence. So you can say it's not scientific basically. It's not scientific, lacks scientific data, right? But तुम इसको subjective नहीं बोलोगे. Scientific नहीं है बोलोगे, objective नहीं बोल सकती. The reason is कि it is objective. See, the basic definition objective is things that you can see, touch, smell and taste, right? जो एल्बर्ट का बिहेवियर था, इट वाज ऑब्जर्वेबल. तो सी का क्राइटेरिया फुलफिल तो कर दिया, सीइंग. So it is objective, as in you can observe little Albert's behavioral change, but it's a scientific नहीं. अगर हम दूसरे एक्सप्लेनेशन पे जाते हैं, फॉर एग्जाम्पल यू आर स्केर्ड बिकॉज यू थिंक नेगेटिवली. We cannot see your thoughts, we cannot taste, we cannot smell, we cannot touch your thoughts. So अगर कोई cognitive explanation लाता है, वो subjective भी और non scientific भी है. तो ये वाला explanation objective है, non scientific. Is that clear? Because there is no way to test this in scientifically. It is reductionist. Is it nature nurture? Is completely nurture because you taught him to be scared. तुमने उसको सिखाया है. Is it deterministic or free will? We will get into that. अब इसके बारे में बात करेंगे. Or individual situational, we will also get into that. Individual situational, it is going to be situational. The reason is it depends upon what you use. If you use a positive UCS, then Albert's CR would be positive as well. But if you use a negative UCS, Albert's CR is going to be negative as well. So it depends on the situation. आप UCS के लिए क्या इस्तेमाल करते हैं, या बेसिकली आसान लफ्जों में आप चूहे के साथ क्या पेयर कर रहे हो. नेगेटिव पेयर करोगे तो अल्बर्ट का रिस्पांस नेगेटिव होगा. पॉजिटिव चीज पेयर करोगे, अल्बर्ट का रिस्पांस पॉजिटिव होगा. Simple as that. Now talk about free will determinism. See, as I said, always, if you have not heard it before, I'm going to repeat it again. People who are behavioralist, ये जो लोग हैं, डॉक्टर वॉटसन जो है, ये वाला बंदा वॉटसन, Ivan Pavlov जो कुत्ते के साथ बेल वाला एक्सपेरिमेंट कहता है, if you remember that. Everyone who is a follower of behavioralism, yeah, behavioral approach, right? They don't believe that thoughts exist, right? It might sound weird to you, but they don't believe. 1920s के अंदर psychology develop हो रहा था, right? So that's why they didn't believe that thoughts exist. They believe that anyone that is following behavioralism, believe that human is a mechanical being, और उसके हिसाब से what you do with a human, उसके साथ वैसे रिस्पॉन्स आएगा. सो इस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में समझाने के लिए बेसिकली एल्बर्ट के ऊपर ये था कि अगर तुमने एल्बर्ट को नेगेटिव चीज से एसोसिएट करवाई थी, तो 100% एल्बर्ट इज गोना हैव अ नेगेटिव रिस्पॉन्स टू इट. एल्बर्ट कैन नॉट कॉन्शियसली चूज कि वो नेगेटिव एसोसिएशन नहीं करता. सो बेसिकली व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से इज, आसान लफ्जों में, yep, you cannot process. Yep, things you cannot process because according to them, thoughts don't exist. तो अगर तुमने लाउड नॉइज डाला था और चूहे के साथ कंबाइन किया था, 100% एल्बर्ट को डरना था। एल्बर्ट डिड नॉट हैव अ कॉन्शियस चॉइस, को नहीं डरे। इसलिए कॉन्शियस चॉइस नहीं कि बच्चा है, इसलिए हम बात नहीं कर रहे, इसलिए कॉन्शियस चॉइस क्योंकि एल्बर्ट डज नॉट हैव थॉट प्रोसेसेस। अगर आप यहाँ पे पॉजिटिव चीज लाती ना, फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ यू केक केक का इस्तेमाल कर दे, केक के साथ चूहा कंबाइन कर दो, देन हो सकता है कि एल्बर्ट जो चूहे से ना डरे। 100% Albert then would like the rat, and Albert cannot choose to do something otherwise. So basically, Albert का जो behavior था, it is determined by what you used to associate with the rat. And जो rat के साथ associate होगा वैसे ही response Albert का आएगा 100%. आप Albert cannot choose to do something else, right? So that is what behavioral psychologists believe, and that is why it is deterministic. You cannot choose, you cannot process it, so you don't have free will. It is deterministic. It's determined by what was associated with the white rat. Is this explanation clear?
Yes.
Halima, is that clear? All right. We're gonna do this question in the next class. For that, I'm gonna end the यहाँ पे, ठीक है? We talked about the GAD-7, we talked about the BIPI, we talked about the diagnostic criteria of all three disorders, and we talked about the first explanation, that is behavioral, that's little Albert. Classical condition इस्तेमाल की गई थी. Is everything clear that we've discussed so far, or you guys have any questions regarding anything that we've discussed so far? All right, then I'm gonna end the class. Take care, guys. Allah Hafiz.